Okay, so today we're going to learn how to change some of these lines' forms. So this line right over here is called a line that's in standard form. Now the issue with standard form is it's not easy to graph. Like, the question becomes, which number is the slope? Like, is it this one? Is it this one? Or is it this one? Or what number is the y-intercept? And again, it could be any of those. So we don't want things in standard form. So what we are going to do is we're going to get this thing out of standard form and put into slope-intercept form. What that means for us is we want to get the y all by itself. So we're just going to try to get the y all by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do to get the y all by itself is move this x to the other side. I'm going to have 2y equals negative 5x plus 10. And you might go, well, why didn't you write 10 minus 5x? Well, that's because when we write slope-intercept form, our x always goes in front of our numbers. So you really kind of want to see these as, like, instead of minus signs, see them as negative signs. Like I'm moving a negative 5 over there. I have a positive 10. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to divide by this 2. And that is going to end up giving me, scroll over here, y equals negative 5 over 2x plus 5. And now it's really easy to see all the information. Like this would be my slope, and this would be my y-intercept. And now that's very easy to graph. Let's try one more example of this type. So if we look over here, again I have something in standard form. The reason I know it's in standard form is because the x and the y are on the same side. We don't want that again because we don't know which number is the slope and which number is the y-intercept and everything else. So we are going to try and get y all by itself. So again, my first step, I'm going to subtract 3x. So then I'll have negative 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 8. And again, I want my x to be in front of my number. Then we're going to divide everything by negative 2. This is going to give me that y is equal to, well, negative 3 divided by negative 2 will give me a positive 3 over 2. And then 8 divided by negative 2 is going to give me a negative 4. And again, this thing would be then in slope-intercept form. And I could see, okay, this is my slope, and this is my y-intercept. Let's see something else. This next example is something that's in what we call point-slope form. Now, you don't really need to know what point-slope form is. You just need to know, hey, this doesn't help me see the graph because, again, your question becomes, which number is the slope? Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Like, and what number is the y-intercept? It doesn't tell me anything, so I can't graph it. So again, we want to get y all by itself. So first thing for me to get y by itself is kind of to distribute this over that. So I'll have y minus 6 is equal to, well, when you distribute the 3 over 2 to the x, it kind of just stays the same. And then when you do 3 over 2 times 4, I'm just going to do that to the side. That'd be the same as 4 over 1, which would give you 12 over 2, which we know would be 6. And now we're going to get this 6 to go to the other side and add 6, add 6. So this would give me y equals 3 over 2x plus 12. And again, this makes it really easy to decide what my slope is and what my y-intercept is. Okay. So that's how we convert things from the different forms like this, which would be called point slope form, this, which would be called standard form, and this, which would be called standard form, and how we get it into slope-intercept form. Now we're going to look at something that is already in slope-intercept form. And that's what this is called again, slope-intercept form. We're going to look at something that is already in slope-intercept form, and we're actually going to move it to standard form. Because even though standard form doesn't help us graph, standard form is actually really nice for finding the x and y intercepts. So that's what this form is used for finding the x and the y intercepts, like both those things. So we're going to try and get it in standard form. The first thing you need to do to get into standard form, we're going to make a list, is we're going to get rid of the fractions. That's the first thing we're going to do. So to get rid of the fractions, I'm going to take all the numbers and times them by the bottom of that fraction. So I'm going to times everything by 3. That's going to cancel out this, because 3 times 4 is 12, and then 12 divided by 3 is 4. So those actually cancel. This would become 3y. That would be negative 4x, again, because those 3's canceled. And this would be 21. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the x to the other side. So that's the two kind of steps. We get rid of the fractions, then we're going to move the x to the other side. So I'm just going to add that 4x to the other side. And what I would end up getting would be 4x plus 3y is equal to 21. Okay. Let's look at one more example of this. Okay, again, we're going to take the same steps, which the first step is getting rid of the fractions. So to get rid of this fraction, I'm going to times everything by 2. So that's going to give me 2y equals, well, those 2's cancel, so 1x minus 10. Then I'm going to move the x to the other side, so minus 1x, minus 1x. And that is going to end up giving me negative 1x plus 2y equals negative 10. And that would be my final answer. Okay. Try to convert things into different forms. Again, slope-intercept form is the form we started out with, where y is kind of by itself. And then standard form is this form where both the x and the y are on the same side. So those are the two different forms, and we kind of just convert back and forth between them because slope-intercept is better for graphing, and standard form is better for finding the x and y intercept.